Games Ponies play. Okay, wait a minute. This looks like the Crystal Place. So maybe this will be like what happened to the main characters in the last episode, which would sort of redeem that episode. I mean, it was still boring and shit, but like, no, it wouldn't redeem it. It would just make it at least make a little more sense as to why they did that. Just made that decision to just take the most boring story to tell of the two. Then again, anytime that there's been a continuation of a story, it's always been part 1 and 2. I guess there was the gala, but that was separated by lots of episodes. Whatever. Still not looking forward to this. Oh, and I guess I may as well mention this now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, what was his name? Shady something? I don't know how I can't remember it. He told me the order of like when the movies and stuff are relevant and like happen chronologically. So after the end of this season, it's Equestria Girls. Which, I don't know much about it, I just know it's when they become humans. I have no idea if that's like a spin-off or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna watch all the movies as well. I feel like that's like part of the show. And then I know that the like where it's just My Little Pony the movie, that one's like apparently of direct importance to the show's plot. Though at this point I don't know how that actually like could happen because this show doesn't have a plot. It's just episodic with the occasional character brought back. I don't know. So this episode, what do I think is gonna happen? Games? Are they just gonna play a bunch of games and then it'll be about how being too competitive? Maybe that's what it'll be about. I don't know. Especially after that last episode, though, I am not looking forward to another one of these. Oh yeah, and I noticed a pattern. The first season, the beginning introduced a villain, and then that villain was turned into a good guy in the middle of the second season. Then in the second season, the beginning introduced a villain, and then in the third season, that villain was turned into a good guy. So the third season introduced a villain. So I think that villain's going to be turned into a good guy in the fourth season. But then again, the first two villains had somewhat of a character, whereas the one in the third season was just a talking campfire, basically. So I don't know. Maybe it'll go somewhere, but I think that pattern's going to continue. And then season 4 is going to introduce a villain that's going to be turned into a good guy in season 5. Okay, so it is actually a continuation of the last episode. Okay, that at least makes it slightly better. But then that still doesn't excuse how slow the other episode is, though. Like that last episode was enough for like these two episodes should have just been combined. What? Ugh, okay. Okay, so it is like, okay, that excuses it being like the last episode just being the boring part of two things. But this still should have been, this is like the perfect opportunity to have an A and a B plot. There's no reason to separate these into 2 episodes, especially not that first one, because that was just so padded out with just endless dumb antics that didn't progress the story or characters. It wasn't funny, wasn't interesting. It just was there to fill up time. I am bored. Okay, guess that's more interesting than normal. It's still a bunch of just boring colors, and I don't know. No matter how I look at it, it's just like I'm just bored. Oh, and she's, oh my gosh. What? I guess that's like her relaxing.
Pieces of news for you.
That's Spike's voice actor, I think anyway. I don't know, maybe they're not the same person. Oh no one knows, but I bet Rarity knows. Yep, there she goes. Like, it's just boring. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, I have nothing to say. Nothing has been particularly interesting or funny. Nothing has been like an interesting character moment. Nothing's really been an interesting animation, an interesting scene. It's just, okay, they need to make the headdress thingy. But the person is coming earlier than they thought. Like, it's 8 minutes in. I feel like the equivalent of a cold open has happened so far. Or maybe not just a cold open, but I'm just so bored. It's just... Wait, oh no, it's someone else. Wait, did they just take the wrong person? Oh no, she has the wrong hair. Like, I can't think of one thing I've liked so far. I can't think of one positive thing to say. Like, I've just been bored for the past 10 minutes. So she knows that Cadence doesn't actually expect her because, like, they're realizing that they took the wrong person. Or at least Twilight seems to realize. Or no, they don't realize it. And there's the real person. What, she has claustrophobia, I guess? I guess I'm thinking about it now even more, and this does not need to be 20 minutes. This thing. Like they even I think that's what pisses me off so much. They had an idea for an A and a B plot, but they split it into 2 episodes for no reason. I guess actually good example, the one with where Rainbow went to the academy thing. This would be like if they had 1 episode for at the academy and nothing else, and then they had a separate episode entirely of just the other characters just in the main town dealing with Rainbow not being there, instead of it being an A and a B plot. Which even then they still managed to make that slow, but at least it was an A and a B plot to break up the monotony of just the endless scenes of the academy. But these 2 episodes just have so much padding to just waste time and nothing else. So he knows that she's not the game inspector. Like, I'm just bored. I can pick apart tons of different details. Like, I can say the backgrounds are boring, the dialogue's boring, the jokes aren't funny. I can say all that stuff, but it's like, I'm just bored. Like, there's nothing to watch. Okay, they're finally gonna realize. And they finally realize it. I guess that joke was kind of set up from the start. God damn, I cannot take anything. I can't think of one positive thing to say. The video and audio work, so I can hear the audio and see the visuals. Oh my god, I'm so fucking bored. There's just her spelling out what she said, and she just flipped on a 180. I just want to hit my head against a wall until my brains and blood squirted across the fucking floor. Just feels like there's so much they could have done with this. Like, if they just combined these 2 episodes into an A and a B plot, then at least the way that they told the story could be interesting. Fucking hell. Yet another just I'm a broken record. Like, it's just another piece of shit. Like, it's just boring. Like, okay, so last episode I complained mainly that because the episode just took the boring of 2 plots and then just focused on that for 20 minutes instead of combining them or just focusing on the more interesting idea. And so then this episode is that more interesting idea. It's the main characters going to the Crystal Empire and trying to get that place selected for these like games. I guess it's like the equivalent of their Olympics. And so then when they go there, they end up picking up the wrong person to like give them a tour, and so it's just some random asshole who's on a vacation. And so then the whole episode is them giving this other person a tour instead of the correct person. But then in the end, it doesn't matter because he gives such a good tour to the random person on vacation that the leader is still just like, yeah, okay, you guys can host the games. And it's like, okay, I mean, at this point I've run to the ground every point about the show that I don't like. The obnoxious voices, the boring animation, the boring backgrounds, the boring dialogue, the boring characters standing around doing nothing, the lack of an interesting story, characters being generic, continuity mistakes. You know, I can ramble about all those things for hours if I want to. But really when it comes down to it, I'm just bored. Like, it's just boring. Interesting things aren't happening. Funny jokes aren't happening. There's nothing to enjoy. Like with something like SpongeBob, or Phineas and Ferb even, or Fairly Odd Parents, or literally any show. They're short segments with constant jokes, constant just things happening, creative things. But it's just like, what do they do in this episode? They walk around a shiny castle, and they're like, hey, we're gonna show you this thing. Like, nothing happens. And they have a whole 20 minutes to work with, and just nothing happens. And like, there's so much potential for these two kind of stories to like collide, and you could have an interesting way of telling this story. Like, you could make it that Spike accidentally goes to the Crystal Empire like early on, and then you have these two seemingly completely unrelated plots that intersect a lot, and then just they could like affect each other, and you could see the different perspectives of them. And then if they were intertwined as a one continuous A and B plot in one episode, it could have been an interesting way of telling the story. But instead, they chose the most drawn out, boring, slow way to do it. Like. I give this episode, I don't even fucking know, 2.5 out of 10. I only give it a higher rating than the last one because at least they were in a more interesting location, and it was like the games. They're playing the games instead of just Spike taking care of pets. Oh my god, it's so boring. It's just so boring.